Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my final and third episode of these webinars. Well, the webinar today is going to be quite informal. It's not like a formal presentation. What my goal here is to share with you the experience, and what I want to show you particularly is how to prepare the sample and measure the gels, and probably measure also RDCs, but mainly the experimental part, especially sample preparation. So let's go. You know, we already seen this from the last one of the few last webinar. So we know that we can align small molecules, small organic molecules using organic solvent with a stretch or compressed polymer gels using different type of organic solvent. And then I also mentioned that it is also possible to run these lyotropic liquid crystalline solutions in organic solvents, and there are recent papers in which graphene oxides were proposed. I mentioned to you that preparing lyotropic liquid crystalline solution is not easy. In my experience, it's been always very difficult. And I spent 10 years of my life developing gels and working with gels. So I will concentrate and I will share with you my experience working with gels. Also here you have listed references about, these are reviews for chiral phases. These are some papers of polyguanidines and polyacetylines, and also the two references about the graphene oxide. The problem is that probably most of these phases are not commercially available. Also here I listed for you, when you have a copy of my presentation, I listed a series of articles. Christina Thiele wrote a couple of nice reviews. There is a nice review written by Burkhard Louis. There are two reviews. This is the same one that I showed you before. This is a small article highlight in Angevante by me. There is a reason why by Christina Thiele. There is a book chapter by Armando Navarro, Hansun, Christian Grisser, and me. And recently, I just want to share with you, I wrote a very small general article for the Encyclopedia of Spectroscopy and Spectrometry, but now it's being published in the reference module in Chemistry, Molecular Science, and Chemical Engineering. So, well, here it is what you have to pay for right now. I don't get any money out of this. This is a very nice, just general on RDCs. Well, let's talk about strain gels. We will just, we'll make a little bit of history here. And I already mentioned that, in fact, this idea was proposed by Burkhard Louis, that was published here in this article in Angevante Chemie in 2004. So this is the first method to stretch gels. So the gel, when it is swollen inside the NMR tube, and as it swells here it's swollen outside, then the gel touches the walls, and then since it has to keep swelling, it's self-stretch, and then you have an anisotropy here. This is based, in fact, from an article by Deluch and Samulski in 1981, and then this was what inspired the use of polyacrylamide in proteins. Now, today is not really a secret that any gel that we compress or stretch, it will be anisotropic. There are several gel combination of polymer solvents, and in these articles that I mentioned to you, they are listed there. In my case, I really spent a lot of time developing the PMMA, and recently, as I told you, the polyhema for DMSO. So let's talk a little bit about scaling of the alignment strength. So this is what it is here in this slide. is just for a gel like the one that is the rod of it is one centimeter long, and then it's almost 4 millimeters in diameter. So the main problem with this method is that once you swell that gel inside the NMR tube, the gel will swell, and then you will have a constant degree of alignment. So you cannot tune it, you cannot change it. And the only way of changing, that this was proposed here by Burkhardt-Lewis in 2005, is that, well, for example, you can change the diameter of the stick, you can change the diameter of the NMR tube, you can change the degree of cross-linking. So you see here, see, the cross-link, then this is for divinyl benzene, for polystyrene. So you see the cross-link density at the beginning, the degree of alignment grows fast. That is why when in the case of the PMMAs or the HEMA, there is a big difference between having 0.2%, 0.3%, or 0.4%, because the quadrupolar coupling changed drastically. But as you increase the cross-link density, it grows like this. Also there is an effect with the temperature. You know, as you increase the temperature, the quadrupolar splitting drops. So this is already proposed by Lewis. You can change the radical starter, you can change the polymerization temperature, or also the sample temperature. What it is for sure is that the alignment do not depend on the static magnetic field. The only alignment that depends on the magnetic fields are those like paramagnetic alignment. We're using a paramagnetic tag. Well, so then in 2006, and then Burkhardt-Lewis proposed this in 2008, Kucher came with this stretching apparatus. The stretching apparatus used an open-end tube, and then a silicone rubber tube inside, and then a tiny stopper here. The problem is that the tube is open at the end, and then you stretch it here, and then you lock it. Well, you know, if you are confident and you want to do it, but you have to be aware that there is a stopper here, and then there is maybe a risk of the sample dropping inside the probe. I haven't heard any accidents, but I know that many NMR managers will not like or will panic if they see a user, you know, walking into the room, me including myself, and then with a tube that is open at the bottom. But as you stretch it, you can stretch the gel inside, then you can scale the alignment, and then you can also, in these F2 couple HSQCs, you can see how the degree of alignment change as you stretch the gel. In this case, he was using gelatin. Of course, you can measure slopes of RDCs, and this was this paper in open spectroscopy by Burkhardt-Lewis, in which he used PEO with water, he used polyacrylonitrile with DMSO and gelatin. And the problem is that silicone rubber will dissolve in chloroform, and then we have to be careful. And Burkhardt-Lewis, in collaboration with Steve Cheatham and Betsy McCord from DuPont, they use a rubber that is called Calres, and this Calres polymer is a perfluorinated elastomer, and it resists all solvents. I know that over time it deteriorates, but if you are interested on this type of alignment and using the gels inside, I'm not the right person. You should contact Professor Burkhardt-Lewis, that is in KIT in Karlsruhe. Well, I was discussing, and then we are going to go into practical terms. Most of my colleagues use F2 couple HSQCs in order to measure the RDCs. Well, yeah, it is okay. It is okay. There are HSQCs like the clip HSQC that don't show distortions. And the problem is that when you put inside the gel a molecule with a lot of protons, let's say a triterpene, a diterpene, or you can put, like cholesterol, then what you have a lot of proton-proton interactions. Those proton-proton interactions that are dipolar interactions start broadening the signals in F2. And for example, here, this is done in a regular 5 millimeter tube, self-stretched gel, and I just on purpose put cholesterol. And then the quadrupolar coupling of the cholesterol here is 98 hertz. And then this is what you see compared to the isotropic. If you try to measure an RDC in F2, well, this is the isotropic, the red is an isotropic. Here you can measure plus 65, but if you want to measure here for a CH2 group, good luck. So it is important also to choose the right degree of alignment. But since 5 years ago, I'm talking about 2010, yeah, I decided, and I've been looking forward always, to use measured RDCs in F1. The reason for that is that you avoid all these dipolar broadening. As I mentioned, this is the Lewis approach, and we already, I showed you this, we already developed these PMMA, and I already told you the quadrupolar coupling, and then in order to see if your sample is anisotropic, or if you reach, an anisotropic stage of your media, you should see a nice doublet in the deuterium NMR spectrum. And this tiny signal is something that, in my case, when we develop the compressed gel, we cannot avoid, and we will talk about that. You still can use the traditional method. If you can put and you can swell a gel there, the gel will swell. In certain cases, it will swell fast. In certain cases, it will swell slow. I know that polystyrene swells faster. PMMA takes forever. So because in order to stabilize, it takes 20 to 30 days. And then you have two options here. So if you know that your sample is stable, you can swell the gel with the solution contained in your sample. But if not, because it will be 20 days inside, you can swell the gel, measure the quadrupolar coupling, and the other thing is that you don't know is what is going to be the performance of the gel once you swell it. And then will you put your sample first with that uncertainty? Probably not. And then if you want to diffuse the sample inside the gel, then what happens? You have to put a solution on top of the gel and let it self-diffuse, and that will take 2 to 3 days. So then this is when we came with this idea of using a Shigami plunger and using a gel stick that is 25 millimeters long, 2 millimeters in diameter, and then you put it inside and you swell. This is the case in which it swells, you can compress any degree, and then you can tune the alignment. We already mentioned this, that you can use this device, and with this knob here that you can rotate, and then I will tell you more details on the practical part. So I already mentioned these. These are the PMMA gels. We have now these HEMA gels. That the HEMA gels have the advantage that in the residual DMSO that is not inside the gel is separated from the DMSO inside the gel by 50 hertz. And then you can see, depending on how far you compress the gel, you can see both signals, and you can see the total splitting and the J, and then you can measure the RDC. Here is a chloroform gel. This is the deuterium NMR spectrum. And then you can see when the gel is fully relaxed inside the NMR tube, you see the DMSO inside, the DMSO outside, sorry, and the DMSO inside. And when you compress the gel, you can see the splitting here that is 4 hertz for DMSO. For the same degree of alignment is approximately 34 hertz. We don't know, I think it's more. for chloroform. So here are the tricks. So the gels, the PMMA gels are very brittle. And one of the problems that we initially face, and many of my colleagues face, is that the gels, once they're made and then once they dry, they are very brittle, and they like chloroform a lot. Well, they start cracking, and there's a way to avoid that. So if you use a fresh gel, you shouldn't have that problem. But the problem is that because of that, it is very difficult to wash the gel, and you can wash it, but once you dry the solvent, the gels start to crack and then it breaks. So the gels normally are casted in 3 millimeters NMR tube. Normally you should manually select a good, for good radial shape, and then normally they are cut in 25 millimeters of length. So the way we did it originally, so I will go slowly, is that we use a Shigemi plunger, and we use a regular NMR tube, and in the first paper we didn't use this cap. And then what you do is, you put the cap, the Shigemi cap inside the plunger. So this is probably the cheapest way. And then you insert here you have, see, the tube with the plunger inside and the cap. And then here are some instructions for you. But what I recommend, is to put the gel here. Here is the gel. You see the gel here, and here is the plunger. Normally, in the traditional method, when I've been doing this, is that we put the plunger to avoid the gel to crack here, because it's swelling fast, and if you leave it without the plunger, it will crack. So it says here, see, insert the Shigemi plunger to contain the whole gel between the bottom of the tube and the plunger, as shown in the picture. There is no solvent in the picture. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that the gel floats in chloroform. So this is how we used to do it. Yeah, we wrap it with Teflon, and then this is how it ends. And well, normally these gels swell faster than overnight, but normally it takes overnight. And then here it says, once the gel is swollen, it behaves as a flexible sponge. The monomer can be washed out of the gel by adding aliquots of fresh, I would say 100 microliter of CDCl3. Remove the Teflon tape, remove the plunger, and pour the solvent out of the NMR tube. And do it into a clean, normally I used to do into a clean 2 to 4 dram glass vial, because you have to be careful that the gel do not drop into the floor, or the gel has to, if the gel drops, it has to drop into the flask. And then you can add fresh solvent, and then you gently pump, like with the plunger, you gently pump the gel, and then you will start washing it. And then this is how the NMR spectrum looks like when it contains monomer, and this is what you should get. And then what you can do in order to insert the sample, so once the gel is clean, what you do is you remove all the solvent, and then you dissolve your sample in, let's say, 50 to 70 microliters. Another recommendation is don't put more than 2-3 milligrams or 4 milligrams of sample, so you don't have a lot of sample into the isotropic part. And then again, you put the sample, and then you gently pump with the gel, and then the solution will equilibrate, and then then you will see your sample inside the gel. This method, well, sometimes it took 8 to 10 cycles to clean the monomer. Another option is that what you can do, as I said here, well, you can just leave the gel inside the fresh solvent or in the tube, and then put chloroform to a height of half of the NMR tube and leave it there like a dialysis. I didn't try this, but I'm going to show you another procedure that we recently developed better. And also instead of using Teflon, we use electrical tape. This is the cheapest way to do this and fast if you want to do. The problem is that if you use Teflon and then you measure, and then the plunger can be, can be moved up because the gel will push it, and then the quadrupolar coupling will be different before and after the experiment. That's why you have to run two quadrupolar, two edge spectrum. With the device, that doesn't happen. Well, see, it says since it is adhesive, seems to work even better to hold the plunger in position. Well, once the gel is clean, you can transfer the gel once clean to the NMR tube that is provided by New Era and use the device. Well, I have collected RDCs in both Teflon tape, electrical tape, but compressing the device from New Era is very efficient by minimizing the amount of the isotropic CDCl3. It is not possible to fully compress the gel when you use Teflon or electrical tape. In addition, once the gel is swollen, it acquires a new length. Oh, sorry. So it acquires a new length, and the new length is 30 millimeters when it is fully compressed and 45 millimeters when it is fully relaxed. And here is a very, very important recommendation. If you use the compress device, the compression device, well, you will have to move we call the screw, I don't know how to say it, it's the nut and the bolt. And then you just calculate, you just push the gel, you move it up, and then push the gel with the piston. And let me show you here the device. Yeah, see? So you remove this, then unscrew this up, and then push the gel with the piston until you fully compress, and then you move this one, and then just screw it down until you get the proper height. Do not turn the knob with the gel inside the tube because you will squeeze the gel and you can break it. Also, do not adjust and then compress the gel, because once the gel reaches the maximum stage of compression and you keep going with the knob, you will break it. So be careful about that. So shimming, because that's the most important part. Before moving into the collection of NMR isotropic parameters using this gel, it is important to make sure that we have a good shimming. Well, what I found, here are some instructions. So what I found is that what you do is you can use another device or you can use another shimming piston, and then you fill the NMR tube with pure chloroform. And then you can push the plunger until you get here in volume exactly the same volume of the gel. And then what do? You just put in the magnet, center this, and then run regular gradient shimming experiment, like depending on the instrument you are using. I use Brooker, so I use Top Shim. Agilent has grad shim, and different instruments has different grad shimming. But once you grad shim, also remember that the sample will be short. So since it is short, you will have to shim high order shim. But my experience is that, well, going up to Z6 will be fine. Once you shim this, okay, you can save the shim, or just immediately after you insert the sample with the gel. So once you insert the sample of the gel, this is the anisotropic CDCl3, this is the CDCl3 inside, and this is this is the residual, in fact, this is the CHCl3, this is proton signal, and this is the one that is outside. And then just by running in Fourier transform in real time, then you just touch, for example. Normally what I found, this is really bad scenario because I got much better. But here, you just touch Z3 in a step of 10 in the direction that the signal collapses, and then you will see this signal collapsing, and then you can touch Z1 and Z2 manually. In Brooker, it is the command GS, I don't know the other instrument that you run an experiment in real time, and this is normally what you get. So here, this is the shimmy that you should get after you adjust this. This is the chloroform inside, the chloroform outside, and this is the gel spectrum without monomer, or here in this case, for example, this one contains a little bit of sample, and this is what you should get. I was able to shim in this way the gels to 0.7 to 1 hertz, okay? And this is the 2H quadrupolar splitting, and for example, this gel was compressed by the New Era device, and then the integral of the isotropic CDCl3 is 4%. So if you use the plunger, normally you get 15%, but you can even go much lower. Here is with the Shigami plunger, so you see more isotropic solvent. Then see this is the proton NMR spectrum of a compressed gel, the one that is shown in the previous slides, and the gel contains 6 milligrams of a small molecule. This is an expansion, and you can see here, this is what you see, this is the chloroform, and then you can see the quality of the shimming that it can be achieved with these gels. These gels are really homogeneous, you know, they're made very homogeneous. And here is the molecule inside, and you still have the chloroform outside. For the DMSO gels, for the HEMA gels, it's much easier because you can put the gel, you can swell them in DMSO, you can wash them the same way, and then the procedure is exactly the same. But the advantage is that you can shim the relaxed gel, you can shim it with top shim, you know, grass shim, and then even when it is compressed, you can shim it, you can touch up, and then see here, this is a fully relaxed DMSO gel. There is some methanol in the way they were made. Now we make them, we polymerize them with acetone. So this is outside, this is inside, this is already a shim just with automatic shimming. This is different from the other case, and this is when you compress it. Okay? And then what I did is I just touch up Z1, Z2, Z3 using the log level, and then here you can see the quadrupolar coupling for methanol, the DMSO that is outside, that is not anisotropic, and the DMSO that is inside with a quadrupolar coupling of 3.3 hertz. In the case of these gels I told you, see, this is the dual plot. It shows a retrorcine, a compound inside the gel, and isotropic is black, and the isotropic is green. There is a global shift here, see, of the compound. You will see the compound here, see, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, and when you compress it, well, the amount of gel outside, the amount of sample outside the gel just go down, and you can compress it with these gels, you know, to make the sample disappear. So here, see, here you see, and then also you can see proton-proton RDCs because the splitting here of the proton coupling is smaller, and then you see inside, outside, and this is what you should see. And this is just the J-Bird scale HSQC, you know, so if you need help, if you need a pulse program, if you need my help, just throw me an email. I will help you with that, because we cannot do a real-time demonstration with the instrument here. But see, this is the compound retrorcine with the gel compressed, and it's not fully compressed. And then you can see here all the signal. To the left, smaller is outside, inside, outside, inside, and you just can collect RDCs in one shot. Well, this is probably one of the best development that we've made lately is that, for example, you can here, you see these are the PMMA gels. So you can, in a flask like this, you can put a methanol mixture 1:1 with acetone, and then you just leave the gels here. The gels will swell halfway, and as they swell, then the monomer it will start to diffuse to the solution, And then you can do this few times, 2 times, 3 times. And then if you want to know if the monomer is gone, you just take one of these gels, put it inside an NMR tube and run a quick proton, and then check if the monomer is gone. Once the monomer is gone, you can transfer the gel to a flask with chloroform. Normally here what we use silver foil. And you can also put potassium carbonate and molecular, sieves, this is bad spelling here, molecular sieves in order to prevent the formation of HCl. And the gels will be ready to use anytime. So normally what I do is putting in chloroform here. I do the exchange of the methanol with the acetone, and then I transfer to another flask with pure CDCl3, and then I keep them there. See, and I have like a crop. So once they are washed and here they are clean. So what you have to do, just take one with a tweezer, make sure that you don't push it too much. Here is the silver foil. I put them in the refrigerator. So just take them with a tweezer, put it inside the NMR tube, the tube of the device, just put in the tube, and then you now add your solution, let's say 50, 70 microliters of the solution of the compound. Then even with the plunger of the device, you pump it, make sure 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like you listen to a nice music song or whatever, and then you just pump it, and then it will equilibrate. And then what you do is then you can proceed to do the shimming, the way I show you. And then once you do the shimming, and once you compress it and the degree of compression you want, then you are ready to go. And this is so easy that if you already have them clean in the refrigerator, you come in the morning, you put the gel, random experiment, and then just collect the RDCs. You've already probably collected the Jaybirds JSQC the day before. And here is another picture. You can see here, these are when they are pre-swollen in methanol acetone, and here they are already the full length, and here these are around 4 millimeters in length. And this is the NMR spectrum of a PMMA gel swollen in CDCl3 with residual monomer. So here is the monomer. See, this is what you should see if there is monomer. This is the chloroform inside, the chloroform outside. This is how they should look like once they are clean. This is a DMSO, okay? And then now we use acetone. I put acetona in Spanish, so since I speak Spanish, sometimes I just write in Spanish, and no excuse. And then you can see here, see, this is fully compressed. So you can see the monomer. Since it is fully compressed, there is no signal outside. But when it is fully relaxed, you can see the inside, the outside, the inside, the outside, inside, and so on. Here, this is the DMSO, yeah, and this is acetone, and this is the gel. This is the deuterium NMR spectrum of the gel, and then as you can see here, and then this is relaxed. And then when you fully compress, and this is a really good gel, this is 0.3% cross-link density, and then you can see that the signal, the isotropic signal almost disappears. So there is a lot of room to play here. And I want to show you, for example, that where we were 10 years ago and where we are now. So this is Lutherton. This is my first paper. We use the traditional method. And these are the F2 slices. See, the red is the isotropic F2 experiment, but the blue is the anisotropic F2 experiment. See the broadening. See, well, see how much willingness we had to measure these RDCs. Of course, we got RDCs of 98 hertz, and see here, for example, the signal of this CH, the CH2 here, C13. So look here, that is how we measure. And then here are the CH2s, the C9, and this is today. This is today, 10 years after. And then here you can see in the Jaybird scale HSQC, then you can see that this is the residual isotropic inside, this is the anisotropic, And you can also, with this gel, if you run, let's say 1K increments in F1, you have enough resolution. And here is from where you measure the RDC, so you can do just picking. So the most important part here is that I show you, how to use, how to clean. These are the tricks.